What a day. What a day.
Yeah,
We have so much to talk about, man. There's so much to talk. Just waiting for Astral to get here. What's up, EJ? What's up, Matteralice? That's a great name. I hope that's a reference to Tool, but if it's not, it's totally cool. But yeah, welcome everybody. With a little slight change of plans. Ty had something to do.
Guys, nice to meet you all.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, man. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. We like open conversation. We like new people. We like our old people. We like all the peoples. We were going to do pretty much the same situation here, except Ty was going to host it, but Ty, I think, got tied up in something. No pun intended. Either that or he fell asleep, because I know he has to get up extremely early for work. Gets up at like 3 o'clock. I used to do the same thing, so he's probably burnt the hell out. It's totally cool. What's up, Inari, Mass Hysteria, all you guys here? How's it hanging? Obviously, Astral. What's up, brother?
What up, man? I'm just riding the high.
Yeah, me
right
too,
now.
man. I just had a really, interesting conversation with my parents over dinner about this particular subject, and my dad was like, "Yeah, even the mainstream news, was covering it." And then my mom chimed in. She was like, "Yeah, but it was only like a small segment." And I was like, "Yeah, and that's embarrassing, and that's shameful." And my dad even said, he was like, "You would think this would be the top story." Like, it's incredible to me that they would wash over it like that. This should be dominating the news cycle right now. Like, it should have been the same situation that I saw during the day with News Nation. News Nation was covering it pretty much around the clock until it ended, and we're getting thoughts and perspectives from different people, and I saw none of that from mainstream. It's like, I don't, at this point, I'll even, full disclosure, I didn't even put on CNN or MSNBC or Fox or any of that today at all. I usually don't, because there's just no point. Let's see, we got a couple more speaker requests.
Dude, the scene in News Nation, it was cool to see that they were covering like on site, and to see the craziness that was happening there with the line just trying to get in. They had to do a second room to accommodate everybody who was there. The people were a lot of people were saying they'd never seen a scene like this for a hearing before in their career. So it was crazy to see like on site there what was going on.
Yeah, no question about it. Also, guys, just while I'm thinking of it, if you can make sure to share the space. We're going to try to get as many people in here as possible, obviously.
Hey, Tom, you may want to throw Astral co-host or something, because that increases the amount of people in there, because whoever your followers are see you in the space, so they come in.
Oh, I thought I did. I'm glad that you said that, because maybe it didn't work. Let me try it again. Yeah, I usually don't run the space. I'm doing it from my phone right now only because BlueStacks tends to crash all the time, and I'm not trying to deal with that tonight, like, whatsoever. So let's see here. Okay, cool. Let's see. Co-host. Invite. All right, Astral, I sent you co-host. I hope it worked. Let's see, Shane, I sent one to you too. I don't know if it worked, but I'll.
Yeah, I didn't get one. You don't got to play me, bro. Yeah, I know you playing me, bro. You didn't send me shit.
Yeah, right, man.
With you, man.
I ain't Ty.
No, it mess with you. You're good. I haven't got one yet, so I don't know if it's.
Yeah, like, it's just.
Oh, it's not coming up for either of us.
No. Let's see, invite. I just sent it to you and Astral.
No, it's all good though.
Yeah, it's not that big a deal. It's just a matter of getting people in here. We can retweet the space. I can talk just as much as speaker as I can as co-host, right?
Gotcha.
It should still tell everybody that you're in a space, like up at the top for most people, I think.
Yeah, it does. Looks like we're filling in pretty good here, though, slowly but surely. But yeah, if you can just retweet it and whatnot. Obviously, this isn't perfect. Sometimes the app acts up, which is why I'd like to do it from my PC, but then that started to act funky too. So I'm looking for a different method. But all right, I don't want to bore you guys anymore, obviously. So the hearings were today. I got a lot of calls. I got a lot of text messages from people that aren't even interested in this subject, like, at all. And they were even reaching out to me, asking me questions. I had a phone call with one of my cousins who is pretty afraid of aliens. Like, she's afraid of the idea of non-human intelligence visiting Earth. Like, She's freaking out, but she knew this was coming. I prepared her for it. I told her what was happening. I gave her like the whole down low, and she took it in stride the best that she could. But I tried to stay away from like, you know, the more negative side of this, because, you know, there you could potentially go into some dark territory with these conversations. But I'm curious, Astral, we'll start with you. What's your biggest takeaway from what happened today? Like, what's like what's underlined for you right now, moving forward?
Well, for the first like 10 minutes, I had a lot of uh, reminiscing on the last hearing from Arrow, because they were really focused on the reporting of it, and then I don't feel like Burchett kind of right out of the gate spent his 5 minutes very valuably in the very first one. You know, he was like kind of joking about Tic Tacs and wished his wife a happy anniversary, and next thing you know, it's like his 5 minutes was gone, and I was like, damn, like he might have just spent his whole time right there and not really asked Grush questions. But then I think who was it, like Morowitz started asking some really direct questions,
Yeah.
and a lot more people started asking more questions, and people then directed their time back to Burchett. So I think, you know, at the end of the day, it was just such an important day to happen for validation for a lot of people who have been researching this, and for it to get to this point and to see that like there was like something that was happening behind the scenes, and this was the final goal, and to see that kind of manifest and take place was really, really powerful to see today.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with everything you said. There, you know, I described the entire hearing as kind of like ebbs and flows. It was like a mountain range. We went up, we went down, we went back up again. I felt like it ended on a high note. There were like the last 10 to 15 minutes were really good as well. There were things entered into the record that I really appreciated. Pi had even said that, you know, when we were streaming it with Digby, he was like, you know, I really, really hope that they make an effort to enter Grush's News Nation interview into the record, which they did. They made sure to kind of hit all those notes. I liked a lot of the key words that were used, obviously bodies, non-human intelligence, biological samples, etc. But I want people to also remember that Grush is in a tight spot. You know, he's probably been given a giant list of things that he can and can't say. And in the midst of speaking, you know, when being questioned in this way, sometimes he has to stop and think like, all right, how can I answer this question without, you know, potentially landing my ass in jail? But on the upside of things, there are now even more government officials that are aware of the situation. They've become interested in it. They're taking it seriously, and they want to speak to Grush. They want to put him in a setting where he's safe. You know, these skiffs that they talk about. And then this bit about the Holman Act, which is really interesting. That if someone gets in the way of that, you know, you don't have a need to know. They could take away, you know, your job. They could, you know, they'll cut your pay. They'll, it just, you know, I was doing some reading on that. It's like you could lose your pension. They're really going to be launching what I think is going to be an extensive investigation, probably over the next couple years. I know that sounds like it's a little bit of a drag. I get it, because everybody wants the big D disclosure right now. We have to be patient. It's just the situation that we're in. I'm sure, Shane, I'll kind of segue to you. I believe that this is a process. I believe that this has been planned. It's been thought out. It's been articulated. It's a strategy. I see this dragging out at least another 3 years before like the bomb of all bombs drops.
Mind if I go step on that?
Yeah. Go ahead, because I that's what I was saying.
I was going to say, we were talking about censors, what he can and can't say. I can't really talk freely about sources and methods. You got an NDA, right? Those last forever. Can't discuss his sensor systems, how we collect information, or show the info, or show how it was collected, right? An example, nobody can show you a secret craft. They can't discuss how we derived ET or use the craft. It's a sensor platform, and you're going to give up sources and methods. However, you can say, we found this UFO and reverse engineered it. You just can't say what was produced from that effort. And I think that's about the whole end game of disclosure, right? Saying the right things, doing what you can, and you said disclosure plan. I could say that, what if part of that plan is they started 10 years ago, as an example? And, you see me put papers and other people post shit all the time, right? What if part of that plan is making sure there's enough information that's still out there, and then leaving a trail that can't get back to people to find it? Because regardless of what people think, I know for a fact, I was going to say this as well, too. So they've been harassed, things like that. Let me put it this way. I've heard from a source. I'll just say it was a whistleblower. This is all I'm going to say about it. After today, I heard today that there's an active campaign of harassment. And I don't mean bullshit. I'm talking active harassment. Just keep it there, right? Like bad, that's the kind of shit that's going on, right? There's programs that involve that. And it makes me think, too. So back in the day, I don't know if this was the actual name, but Project Luna was technically the Men in Black program, a completely different program wrapped up in the whole NRO, right? So all of this shit, it's all about walking the line. It's literally like the Eric Davis. He's really good about walking up to his NDA, flipping it off, not crossing it. Kind of gets a little bit of trouble. So he's kind of going back and forth. But the thing that most people don't understand, part of the thing David did that was genius, those initial documents about the Mussolini 1933 crash, the reason he could do that, it was a war trophy. He didn't get it legally, so they couldn't classify it. How many more of those are out there? And they know these things. So they're crossing, stepping over this line. It's an eggshell game. These guys are geniuses. It's 4D chess, and they're playing the United States government. I think they're doing pretty fucking good at this point. What do you guys think?
You got to take your hats off at one point, even though it's all fucked up. It's crazy what they've been able to do with that.
No question about it. This is a massive undertaking that has never really been attempted in this way before. There's a lot of speculation that, this is a psyop, or, it's a double reverse this, and
that's guard.
At the end of the day, I think it's possibly, not even possibly, I think it's more likely something a lot more simple. They're revealing the truth. I'm sure there's a handful of reasons why. We can all probably think of a few ourselves, but if you just take a step back for a second and think about, let's say this was like 15 years ago, and I said to you, hey, if they were to ever disclose these truths to the public, what do you think it would look like? Now, if you asked me that question back then, I would have said, well, they are going to probably do it little by little, slowly, one step at a time. That is exactly what we're seeing. If you guys know Brian Johnson, he's wonderful. One of my friends here on Twitter, he hosts spaces all the time. He has the same thought process as well. Yet we still have people arguing about, Lou and ATIP. It's like, dude, we're so far beyond that already. You guys are still in the, UFOs aren't real, campaign. And it's just like, you do realize that the bus left, right? Like we're so far past that. And I try to be as respectful as I can of other people's beliefs and whatnot. And I everyone's entitled to an opinion on this situation. You guys know I'm the nice guy in UFO Twitter, but it does get to a point where I'm like, some of what you're saying is just kind of stupid. And I just can't help it. It's, go back to what Ralph Blumenthal said it, for Christ's sake, back in 2017. He was literally quoted as saying, we are past the point of debating whether or not these objects exist. We are now at the stage of who are they, and what are their motives. That was in 2017. I mean, this is years down the road. And now there's all these different officials talking about there's a time constraint, there's a timeline. And that's something I want to bring up. And again, I don't like the whole making dates thing. I know we've all heard 2027 and all that, but usually those types of rumors end up arising from weird YouTube channels on the internet that think that Planet X is about to collide with the Earth. It's usually coming from that particular sector of the web. This is being spouted by people like John Ramirez. Obviously, Greer made some statements too. But Christopher Sharp over at Liberation Times, he even said, hey, there appears to be a lot of urgency in regards to this. So any of you guys that have speaker, I'm curious what your thoughts are as far as why there may be a rush
Yeah, I got one.
happening. Sure.
So if you take the, I think I posted it today, the Orion Grays, tall grays, not necessarily grays, but treaty with them. So one of the things in a document I read back in the day with William Cooper, yeah, I know that he's disinfo, but you need to reevaluate everything now. Disinfo is the opposite side. Well, he talks about specifically that these guys have a treaty with us to kidnap, do these different things, right? But one of the things they bring up is they're coming, they need this planet because their home planet's dying. And guess where their home planet's near? Betelgeuse. What have you guys heard about Betelgeuse lately? Could that be?
Oh, the TRAPPIST-1 system, right?
Yes. So they're technically.
I made a video about that.
There you go. So technically, what I got in my head, because of the whole Betelgeuse connection, with that, what's going on is that about to go supernova, and that's why their planets in 2027 will probably be a time frame, right? And I also say that it's not just Ramirez, any of these other individuals talking about it, and urgency could be a matter of, let's say, when we disclose, things start happening faster. I don't know if you guys have noticed. Do you think it's from the ability to have cameras all the time? We had those. People weren't getting videos that they are now. Or do you think the closer we get to disclosure, the faster whatever's happening happens? It's the end of the world, bro.
I wouldn't call it that. I think it's the beginning of the new one, you know? It kind of feels like this is a shift in paradigm, and we're going to be living in a completely different world in a couple of years. Now, Shane, you and I, we were in a space earlier, and I had never heard this one before, especially in combination. There were two things that were said by someone in combination, that they thought that the technology that we are seeing is actually, it's all human, all of it, everything. And that it's just been hidden this entire time. And that when they recovered bodies at Roswell, that those were like bald Russian children that were genetically modified and experimented on. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Wait, they said that today?
Yeah, in that space you were in earlier. Yep.
Oh, in the space, yeah. But people say a lot of things
When
in
we
these
were in
spaces.
Maze's space. Yeah. I had never heard some, and then they said the moon landing didn't happen, and
Look, I'll tell you
it
this
was an
much.
interesting combination.
I'll tell you this much. When it did happen, we weren't the first ones in the moon. Hitler strapped to the beaches. No shit. First picture of this from them. I'll also tell you, my legacy whistleblower actually told us, prior to us going to the moon, each branch of the service had I guess, a moon, or I guess some kind of NASA, right, to test this shit out. Because it makes sense. You don't want to fail on national TV when it's high stakes like that. So, yes, we went to the moon. And that whole thing they were talking about, I don't know, man. Remind me what it was again. I don't even pay attention because it was.
So,
say it again real quick.
This lady said that she didn't necessarily believe that we were being visited at all.
No.
Ever.
So check this out. That's what I was going to get to. I'm kind of in agreement with this. Okay. Look, most people need to re-examine how many percentages of ours we're seeing, because I think we're probably seeing way more of ours than we are UFOs. And the reason I say this is,
that's a fair assessment.
The reason I say this, bro, before Roswell, we had reverse engineered tech because we had crashes before Roswell.
In the 30s.
Yes, so we got our propulsion system. I'm telling you now, in the 50s, shit was fine. Matter of fact, how much you want to bet penetration? That was ours. The English one talks about that shit coming out. Look, Axelrod knew about it where it was coming out for a reason, because it was probably one of the fucking bases. Pretty easy to piece that together now, right? So we've had this tech. Here's the kicker. Here's the real kicker. Co-host.
Yeah, I figured out how to get the co-host thing to work. I tapped on you guys and sent it,
right, I got it
from a different different
yeah,
link.
fix it
so there you go.
But yeah, so I'm under the impression. So look, we've had craft for a minute. We've had so many craft that we got NGOs with craft. That would be like Lockheed, Blackwater, Raytheon, Northrop, some form or fashion, right? We didn't know, no checks and balances. Government has craft, and within there you got the reason they have craft though. There's a whole Majestic 12 thing that's real, legit. And regardless of what we think, I don't know what it's called, but it's point is, what's here? Somebody mentioned that in space today. They said, oh, anyone that thinks what's here is bad is crazy because they would have already killed us. Well, let me ask you a question. You don't just go out willy-nilly killing all your specimens and your cattle, do you? No. You want to make sure you do it in the appropriate way. Exactly. So, shit. I'm going to say it. Keel talks about it all the time. Pork. We're a fucking farm, man. We're cattle. And you can look at it in any way you want. Hybridization. These programs, all this stuff that we used to think was batshit insane, I promise you, this is stuff I focus on now because it's not so insane. How long ago was it we were thinking there's no way we have crashed craft? There's no way we fly craft. Bro, we've had craft. And when you have a craft, the kicker for all of this is craft or consciousness. This NHI consciousness, it's all intertwined in some way. And I just read something today talking about it all goes back to that base level consciousness, which I always talk about, right? I always say that's the third rail. So once we figure out how to do that, and I think some of these NHI, because they talk about one of the other treaties, there's a blonde that talk about wanting to help our spirituality, right? So maybe that's where they're trying to take us. Maybe the end goal, just bear with me, consciousness, for example, when I always post this video and they're talking about the way time works, and if you're in a fifth dimension, how you would perceive everything. You can take Thomas Bearden's paper, The One Human Problem, right? And the solution, and that's what it kind of talks about. It's telling you that you can only exist so long in a material form. Eventually, we need to meld back into the universe, hive mind, which, if we think about it that way, if we do that, we're no longer just humans, aliens, grays. It's actually what it looks like is seriously a God bringing us to where they're at. And I don't mean it, I mean it lowercase g. Do you know what I mean? It literally is the same thing. They're trying to lift us up in some way because that's the end goal. That's where we all got to go. And it sounds wild.
See, this is what I was talking about the other night. In Maze's first space that I was in, I was talking about. I'm going to be doing a video on it after my Grays video. It's going to be about a term called apotheosis. It's exactly what you're talking about.
Do it. And look, the more, I guess it's easy for me because my experience has been slightly different than I guess most people experience it. So mine's continuing. It's been lasting since 2020, shared, all that kind of stuff. So my eyes get open to when people a lot of times turn away like that's bullshit. I've seen a lot of shit with my own eyes that I still call bullshit on, right? Like in my experience, and like that's kind of, so I'm kind of easier now when somebody comes up with something or I see something, I don't write it off, laugh it off. I try to take and parse pieces because what we need to realize is this: for every piece of real information, there's probably 50 pieces of disinformation but thrown in there with that. And think about this shit. You ever heard of Project Serpico? An exchange program? Well, let me ask you this. If you had a group of individuals that were supposedly working on this whole real thing, right? Why would the United States government feel the need to throw it, to specifically interject Rick Doty to do disinfo if it wasn't real? Why would you target an actual project to disinfo that particular project with disinfo? It wasn't just a general, like they usually do, like trying to flood it. No, they were specifically targeting Project Serpico. That makes me think there's some reality to that whole shit. Now, Sedge Masters, that whole secret space program, I don't think all of that was real, but I could take pieces from here and there and be like, oh shit, we got the Star Kids. We do communicate with NHI, and that's what this whole shit I just posted in there. I think it was Project Superman with an Andrew Pedro story. It's another example of trauma and getting powers and time travel. Project Pegasus. Like this shit. I think the gold is where Astral's always been, right? Consciousness, psi, precog. I'm sad I'm just getting here, but I think that's what the killing's about. Because when you get the craft, you get the magic. You know what I mean?
Everything you said is it's so fascinating to think of it from those perspectives. Because I do ultimately think that we're going to have to think outside of the box to solve this problem. There was a gentleman who asked, most of his questions were really good during the hearing, but one of the things that he stated was that to him, it was far-fetched, the idea that any civilization could traverse interstellar space and reach us. And it's like, well, yeah, maybe from your human perspective, but if you figure out how to bend time space, you're already there, because then you can bypass the speed of light. But you have to go further outside of the box than that, Mr. Representative. I don't remember his name, unfortunately. You have to start thinking in terms of time. You have to start thinking in terms of dimension. This, again, and even in the video I'm working on right now, like as I mute myself, I'm literally editing this video on the Grays. I even talk about some of these things, that perhaps this phenomenon acts in a way that its nature is undefined, where we haven't even come up with a word for what it's capable of. Its point of origin may not be another dimension. It may not be another point in time and space. It may not be another planet. It may be something that we haven't even named yet. These things are capable of behaviors, at least with their craft. And if you go into abduction literature, you know, experiencers will tell you that they've been floated through walls and such. If they have the ability, as Jacques Vallée has postulated, that they can essentially abduct someone's consciousness, you know, and in essence, an astral abduction, like, we are dealing with something that is so far beyond what we are capable of as a species that it's almost insulting to them to assume anything about them whatsoever. We can't sit here and be, oh, they can't reach us. Are you kidding me? They can't reach us? Well, they already do it. They could be from interstellar space. They could be sending avatars out here that they're consciously controlling because maybe they don't like oxygen. You know, there's all these different theories. We have to really look at everything. And I say this all the time. Everything is on the table until it's off the table. I'm a rational, level-headed individual. I'm not nuts, right? I had an experience as a child. I had a giant black triangle over my head. I know this stuff is going on. It's different from my perspective. Some of you have never seen a UFO and you're just interested in it, and that's fine. But as someone who has had the experience, there's just saying that they're from another planet after doing all the research that I've done, that doesn't cut it anymore. This is something, I believe this is something very different. Now, I do believe that this planet has been visited by straight up, simply extraterrestrials, beings that came from probably another solar system. I don't think they have trouble reaching us because they've figured out a method to do it. I mean, if you guys just think about it for a second, like 200 years ago, the means and method for my communication with you right now on this cell phone, if you tried to describe that to someone in the simplest form, like, oh, I'm going to hand you a metallic rectangle, and on that, you can basically access the culmination of all the world's knowledge at your fingertips at any time. You can watch performances. You can listen to music. You can communicate with a friend and see them. They'd look at you like you were naked. They'd be like, what the hell? So we can't put ourselves in a corner. We have to really broaden our horizons here and be open-minded about the possibilities for which we're dealing with these things. We can't just sit here and say, oh, there's no way this. There's, like, none of our sentences should be starting with that. Our sentences should be starting with, it's possible, because it is. All of it's possible. I have this theory too, and then I'm going to grab some of you guys who have your hands up. I have this theory. And it's dumb, and I don't know if you guys are going to understand. Well, maybe it's not dumb. Maybe it's not dumb to you guys, but I have this theory that I call imagination theory. And how that works is this. The theory goes that anything that you can imagine in your own head, right? Like, you can, like, if you close your eyes right now with me, just do it real quick, an exercise, right? Close your eyes right now, and I want you to picture an apple. You're all doing it right now. You can all see the apple. It's red, it's shiny, it looks delicious, it's good for you. You know, it keeps the doctor away as long as you have one a day. All of that's great. Now, you're using what we believe is you're using consciousness to do that, correct? Now, I want you to picture a metallic orb. It's just levitating in midair, it's glowing, and it's doing circles, it's doing whirly birds, it's doing all types of stuff. I believe that anything under this theory, consciousness could be so powerful that anything that you picture in your head can be made manifest into the physical universe. I can't prove that, but what's stopping it? Everything, think about how many different things have started off as science fiction and then have become science fact just in your lifetime. I'm 33 years old. I can remember a time when touchscreens were like a thing of beauty. They were science fiction-ish. The internet, I remember when we first got connected to the internet, it was unreal. An electronic network connecting everyone on Earth. What? But we can go even further than that. Close your eyes and imagine a giant floating city just gliding through the sky. A mothership the size of the Lower East End of New York. I mean, Manhattan, or you go further, the size of Texas, right? You're just imagining it with me. Under that theory, because if everything is consciousness at some level, that theory would suggest that somehow, some way, that thing that you just imagined is possible. We just haven't figured out how to do it yet. I know it's a little wacky, but it's just something that I've thought of before. But let's get to some hands. Let's see. Mass Hysteria, I saw your hand up like a while ago. I think you were first, and then I think it's EJ, then Christian, and then Fernando. But I trust you guys. I'm sure you guys will go in the right order anyways. What's happening?
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Yeah, I want to take it back. Well, basically what you were just touching on, like, where do these things come from? Like, when you hear somebody, like a congressman, say something like, well, the nearest planet is billions of light years away, or whatever you said. Just base that on the speed of light. My head just drops, and I'm just like, God damn it, dude. Can anyone not think outside the box for a second? Humans don't have it all figured out. If anything, we're toddlers in the swimming pool, just trying to stay afloat here. It's like, how can anyone be that arrogant? It just doesn't make any sense when you just look at like the Hubble deep field images and now the James Webb. It just. But that aside, I want to take it back to like the beginning. I want to touch on a real quick point. Can we put the Elizondo stuff to bed now? That Fravor just under oath is like, yeah, he was the leader of whatever the fuck organization. I don't even remember anymore. Like, can we just stop it? Stop it with. Yeah, there you go. Can we just stop it with that? Like, everyone knows that's in the know knows that he did his thing and he was there and he's legit, and everyone else could just shut the fuck up. The thing that stuck out to me the most about the hearing was the bipartisan nature of the hearing. You have AOC next to Gates, but Gates, they're on the same panel. They don't agree whatsoever. It's a shit show in America. I don't know how many non-Americans are here, but like, red versus blue, it's really tough here. And to see everybody seemingly wanting answers on both sides of the aisle. You have AOC like asking Grush, hey, who can I talk to? What department? What company? What, agency should I look at? I'll tell you after the hearing. Cool. Same with other congressmen that spoke up. It's fucking amazing. There's so many different aspects today that were just huge. This just blows. Like, even the press conference for this hearing was monumental in comparison to the hearings that we have gotten up until this point, and this hearing did not disappoint at all. The Holloman law that was brought up, this guy seemed passionate. He's like, fuck these people. Field hearings are still being talked about. Like, this is a monumental step forward, and no one's ever seen anything like this. I've been into this for over 20 years as a almost 39-year-old man. I feel happy for the older folk that have been in this for so long, with such a period of darkness, no answers, no hope for answers. Like, this has got to make some people out there feel fucking amazing. I don't want to hype it up too much, man, but I just wanted to keep it simple, that we're moving things in the right direction, and it looks like a lot to look forward to. And as far as I know, there's another Senate hearing coming up before the end of the year, and let's just fucking keep it going. And that's all I got to say right now.
Appreciate that, man. I'm with you on that front, especially seeing the bipartisanship today. That was excellent. not everyone's a fan of Burchett. Not everyone's a fan of AOC, Gates, etc. But at the end of the day, we're all Americans. And I get it. We clash over politics sometimes, but you know what? The one thing I try to remind people of is that there's a lot of people out there that you don't agree with, but in their hearts, deep down inside, they believe that they're acting for the greater good, and they wouldn't want to see you get hurt. They wouldn't want to see you suffer because you're also an American. Like, we all came together right after 9/11. We can still do it now, and this is an opportunity to make that actually happen. So yeah, I was extremely happy
And that's
to
so
see that.
important, man. Like, I think, given like there was more talk earlier about all these things that are happening, like why now, all that stuff with the AI, the geopolitical stuff. Like, I still believe that this is like the one, maybe the last chance that we have to come together. Like you said, like come together as Americans after 9/11. Maybe we can fucking come together as a fucking planet for once, man. If just like the things happen the way that they should with this stuff, because what else could do it? I just don't see it happening. I just don't. With climate, and we're about to blow each other up. I mean, we don't have much time, man. I hate to be a doomer, but I feel like this is our last hope, and if it doesn't happen, fuck
It's
it.
tough. It's tough to see that happening in this country. I'm proud to say that I'm an American and I grew up in this country, and and then there's people I know who get cringed out over seeing the American flag because for some reason they associate it with a particular politician that they don't like, and that just it bugs me. And it's just like, I don't, no one should think that way. That flag still represents freedom and all of the good things that were supposed to come with it. As far as this being our last chance, hard to say, right? Before what, Civil War, et cetera. Who knows at this point, right? I personally don't think that's going to happen. I don't even think World War III is going to
For me,
happen.
it's the
I think
climate stuff for me, man. I mean, it's crazy.
yeah, it's a big topic.
What if we had a treaty with the NHI that specifically stated we can't be using nukes, and therefore there was a nuke shot out of the sky.
Mm-hmm.
There were some events happened at places with nukes because
Grush did touch on that
treaty.
He didn't touch on it today, but he touched on it in that interview, I thought, right? Like that we made a treaty.
Well, he did mention during the hearing today, he did very quickly mention that there may be treaties between non-human intelligence.
Maybe.
And like he alluded to that.
He has to say that.
I believe it was questioned. I'm sure you guys can tell though, like if he's asked the question, it's either no, yes, and then I have to defer to this or private setting. When he says that, it's a yes.
Absolutely.
We all know we all know that, right? Like even when we were streaming, I'm like, all right, Grush, I got you, man. Yes, 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 yes. Like I get he's in a tight spot. I really do. But at the end of the day, the only way he's going to be able to talk about those things is if an actual official investigation goes down. And personally, and I've been saying this for a while.
He may not.
No, go ahead.
I think this is what's going to end up happening. Look, even if there's an investigation, they probably better get their shit straight. Because we may get, hey, we have alien bodies. That's it. Because I think some of this, now, here's what we need to remember. While we had this compartmentalized, China didn't, Russia didn't. Some of this was just to at least get this before Congress. Even if they throw it secret again, at least there's checks and balances. And there's a national, we have people that represent us taking care of it. That's part of it. I mean, I'd be okay with that. I want to know the truth,
okay.
But we got to understand that part of the truth, part of this truth, let me put it to you this way. Some of these things that we've reverse engineered in the hands of people that are nefarious, I mean, I can't begin to shit. Not even nefarious. Look at the United States government. Hell, look at what happened in Indonesia, smuggling of humans. And if you don't think that's the case, what do you think they would use them for? Probably experiments, probably all kinds of shit, right? I mean, there's some terrible stuff in our history.
Way too much of it at this point. I would say that I've been saying this for a while, that I feel this is just the information's too heavy for it to just stay behind closed doors much longer. The fact that Grush is going to be meeting with different representatives, and the fact that he has already delivered certain information to the IG, I really wouldn't be surprised if someone decides to play the hero and takes a dive and says, you know what, I'm leaking this. Like I seriously, and I get there's repercussions and stuff, but I would not be surprised if someone just said, you know what, they can throw me in jail, they can do whatever they want, but I will always be known as the person that let that out.
And also,
That's
Not me.
it's very
I think you
possible.
have Congress also, some in Congress that are also willing to put, like, they are grasping the seriousness of the situation. I think a couple of them are, a few of them, maybe enough, that if you have both of those things happening, I think it could just, I think we're
Hey,
moving forward anyways, but I think that would totally change things.
I was going to point this out though. No, you don't want to do that. This is a different kind of going to jail, bro. This is national secrets. So, no, this isn't the kind of shit you want to stand the ground for and go to jail for, because you may be there 25 years or longer, right? Because think about
Right.
they would try you as a fucking traitor. That's what they would do. Just think about that National Guard kid that made a stupid kid mistake. Don't get me wrong, it was huge. Look what he's being tried for. Now imagine knowing you're leaking national, you're not a kid. So yeah, that's not a position you want to put yourself in. So they've been, and here's the really fucked up part, guys. Most people don't know this. Did you know that you can go in? Dr. Taylor talks about him, Jay Stratton. We were at AlienCon, and during the panel, he said they wrote the classifications, but they still have to be very careful about what they talk about now, because they can say something now, and then the government can go back, reclassify it, and even though they said it prior, they're still on the hook for that shit. They can do that. Wild, huh? So you can say something now, they go back and change it, then you're in trouble. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, well, this entire thing is crazy. So I just got a text message from somebody that's here in the space that they don't have much time left. So I'd like for them to
Thanks, Thomas.
be able to speak real quick.
So I just wanted to touch on a few things. Earlier, I think it was Odette was talking about Beetlejuice and something that might potentially be coming from space. I don't know if that's true, but I have heard people in the know suggest to read the Three Body Problem in the Dark Forest, and it basically talks about something very similar. But before they do that, they are able to affect our science. They use quantum entanglement and SOFONs, and they have an omnipresence here, which they can see everything. They can affect our science, our particle accelerators, and all the physics stuff we do. They basically mess with the results, and we can't advance as fast. And Grush said something today about I don't know, holographic or
Yep.
holograms. I don't know if I
Holographic
got that
principle.
right.
You got to reevaluate. Go ahead.
Yeah,
That's what he
holographic
said.
principle.
He referenced the holographic universe theory.
He was
Yeah,
talking
I have
about
no idea what
he was
that
talking
means,
about how that
but
relates to
it
them
kind of
being
reminded me.
interdimensional.
Correct.
So does that mean that they're not really
No, what that
here,
means
but
is this,
they are?
Christian.
Or-
So think about it this way. When we use a 3D printer, we take something that's really not physical, data. We turn that data into a physical thing. Now think about it that way. If you're in another dimension, it may not be real to them per se, but that data is coming as it's here. We're seeing something that's just as material as we would anywhere else, even though when it was, let's say, holographed here or whatever, right? The craft of it, it's just that there, right? For us, it's material because we can't tell the difference. Once you take something that's the data, turn it into a 3D project from a printer, what do you got? Material possession, right? So it could be something far more advanced. So just think about like a 6D, 3D, no, a 6D printer probably be about appropriate. Actually, I should have went with. I like that 6D printer. So it could just be data. It could be vibrations, quantum, right? Because everything is data at the lowest level, all on the electromagnetic scale, right? So it's all there. With that data, all you do, let's say we vibrate it to the left twice, to the right once, and it makes a twin tower. Up 3 times and it makes Fernando. So these vibration times and it makes Fernando. So these vibrations, or however it works, you're able to translate that and just make physical things. There's no difference whatsoever. Shit, we use the Montauk chair and create things, physical things, for people with their
That's a really good way of putting things. A 3D printer analogy. I really like that a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I was just gonna say these gray aliens that crash or that we see, they're not. I don't think they're the important ones. I don't think they're the ones in charge. So if they are using some sort of technology through dimensions, and wormholes. Maybe whoever's in charge can't directly go through that, but maybe they're on the way. I don't know. That's speculation, but that's all I got for now. Thanks for
Real quick
letting
too.
me share.
I was going to say that
Absolutely, man.
one of the things we need to readjust though as well. We don't have to worry about beating the speed of light. There is no speed. It's all present, all going, right? All we need to do is change the route from A to B, shrink it, grow it, these type of things, and that's pretty easy. We got the cubiary drive, all these different types of warp drives are all variations of warp drive, propulsions, all these different things. That's what they do.
Shane, you are a wealth of knowledge and a true gem, my friend. Fernando, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here. I thought it was AJ's.
Oh, it
AJ,
is EJ. Shit. Well, what's up
EJ, go
anyways? But
first.
hi. My bad, EJ.
Thank
Go
you,
first.
guys. Well, it's my first time here.
I'm multitasking. Don't mind me, man. I'm working on a YouTube video and trying to keep up with this at the same time. But go ahead, bud.
Don't worry. I just have a quick experience that I want to share with you guys, and I'm not sure if it's something related to what you were talking about with the connection and consciousness. Um, it's been happening to me for a couple of weeks already. That I've been waking up exactly between 3:20 in the morning and 3:33 in the morning. Like it's a sudden
I
wake
have
up,
too, man.
and
I'm curious to see what you have to say because it's driving me
it,
nuts.
So that's weird because so have I. That actually happened to me this morning. So please continue.
Yeah, every fucking night, dude. Go ahead.
so it's crazy, man. So a couple of days ago, I woke up yesterday and I grabbed my phone and the first thing I did was like I was looking through my pictures, and the last picture I took, it was a screenshot of my phone, and it was at 3:33 in the morning, and I don't remember waking up and taking the screenshot. That was the weirdest thing that has ever happened to me. Um, and I said, I've been waking up in the middle of the night for the past few days, but I haven't realized about the time, right? And then I remember another night I woke up and I was in my bed like for a couple of minutes. I got up, I saw the clock, and I saw 5:35 in the morning. I turned around and the clock was 3:35 in the morning, and I was wondering like, oh, I just woke up a couple of minutes ago, right? So it was at the same time. This morning when I woke up, I realized that I had another screenshot. It was 3:23 in the morning. So I'm not sure what's going on, but every night before I go to bed, I always think about everything that's going on, and I send my thoughts to the universe, and I send the signal, and I say like, I'm not afraid of you guys. I'm open here uh, to whatever is happening out there. Please guide me, send me a signal, do whatever you want, because I would like to discover the truth about this. But it's been something that's been happening. It's the first time that's been happening in my life, and I just wanted to share with this forum here, and wanted to see your guys' point of view about it.
It's really interesting because I've literally been waking up like at basically the exact same time in the middle of the night. I mean, this has been going on for probably like 2 weeks now. And I can tell you, I don't have the screenshots like you do, but a couple times over like this happened at least 3 times over the last month. Just random instances where I would take a photo. And like, I'll give you a good example. My cat, who sadly passed away last week, she had been on the bed one point, right? I have like a million pictures of her because she was just adorable. And she was in some sort of funny pose, stretching out and stuff. So I was like, let me send this to my mom. And I'm lined up, and I love photography. I make sure that like my finger's not in the way. It's like I know I'm looking through this viewfinder. I know what I'm seeing through my phone is going to be the photo. I use my thumb so that the finger doesn't get in the way at all. I take the photo. I go and look at my gallery, and it is just a completely different image than what I took a picture of. You can still see that it's like the room. Everything's like distorted. There's like a black mass that's like in the front. And again, I'm not saying that it's an entity or anything of that sort. I'm just trying to describe it visually. But this has happened a couple times. But what I noticed about it is that all 3 times that this happened, and I shit you not, all 3 times that this happened, what did I have on my mind? This. I'm taking the picture of the cat, but at the same time, I'm literally thinking about what I'm going to make my next YouTube about. And I'm going over different things. And like, I was thinking about, shadow biosphere and, those types of things. I was thinking all about, interdimensional travel, entities, all that. All 3 times that I had those things on my mind and I took these photos, there's just no reason for the images to have actually come out the way that they did. I'll grab them and I'll post them at some point because I have so many pictures on my phone. I have to like dig and make sure I locate them. It shouldn't take me too long, but I can relate. Like there's just these weird like synchronicities and instances like that. Like I don't know about you guys, I'm sure a lot of you in this chat have probably been experiencing that, but I've noticed a massive increase in synchronicities in my life, which is really, really strange. But I always laugh when it happens. I'm just like, oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. And it's like, oh, well,
Totally
Occam's
agree.
razor says it's a coincidence. It's like, well,
Not to,
Occam doesn't know everything.
not to that extent when random shit happens to you that is astronomically it's impossible. Absolutely impossible.
You're
Right.
right.
It's just like believe that everybody is like so connected right now with this, and I mean we're making noise. Even our tweets here and there, and I have noticed that we have gone to this point in which we have moved pretty much the world with our tweets, with our arguments, and what we will believe that it's out there, and that's what is making us connect between each other. And I think that that's why we get all the signals at some point. Um, I shared, by the way, with you guys the screenshots via the chat here for reference. But
Perfect.
I believe that we are all connected at some point.
Yeah, I just want to speak up
Yeah.
real quick and just
Go
say,
ahead.
I'm still experiencing when I wake up every night. I have my phone next to me, like most people do. I already know that it's going to be 3:30 in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm just like, damn, dude, like this has been going on for a couple weeks. I don't know what it means, but it's a coincidence. But I'm going through the same shit. I thought it was stress, but it's interesting to hear a couple other people say that stuff before Fernando gets out there. But
It's an interesting time to be here on this planet. Could you imagine if we had all been like born in like the early 1900s? Like we would have missed a lot. It's like, come on, think about it. Like there's been a lot of interesting time periods throughout history, but this has got to be the most interesting of them all.
I
It has
just
to
think
be.
that we're very lucky to be alive at
absolutely,
this
I have
point.
friends
No
that are like, "Oh,
question.
I was born in the wrong time period." No, I feel like I was born in the exactly right time.
I used to say that, because I'm a guitar player and I happen to be like have a hippie heart. So I'm always playing, Jimi Hendrix and all that. And so part of me was born in like the wrong decade, but who says we can't bring Woodstock to 2023, right?
You can keep it going.
Fernando, you've been waiting forever, my friend. You always have something really interesting to say.
I don't
What's
mind.
happening?
Patience is my game. Um,
Nice.
no, I was listening to you all, and there were some things that I wanted to talk about as well, like what Mas was talking about, and you, Tom, and I think Obed, Shane as well, someone else too. So in regards to today's hearings, I think is like a milestone. This is comparable to 2017 when the New York Times article came out, mainly because you actually saw uh, on live television uh, what was being said for a long time, which was this is bipartisan issue, and it finally showed. And on top of that, you could see on both sides of the political aisle, you could see sincere interest. You could see it, and you could hear it in their voices too when they would ask like you know who is more in the know and who's less in the know because of the questions they asked and the tone of their voices when they asked them. Like, like Luna is trying to get grudge as much as she can on the congressional record. She's very careful, and she knew what the limits were, and she pushed him as much as she could. This was very well done by her. You could see AOC, and also there was representative from Missouri. He showed genuine interest, just like when AOC said, "Hey, I want to list." That means, you know what that means. That means these people are gonna unleash whatever resources they have and focus some of that energy towards this. So look what happened to Burchett. Look what happened to Gillibrand. Everybody that gets privy into this and realizes what it is, they have this oh shit reaction, and they're proactive about it. And look at this, how this is like a train, and now it's like we have left the station, everybody. We finally left the goddamn station, and now you're gonna see this thing unleashing because it has gone exponentially. Like, I cannot believe we saw on History Channel Commander Fravor and Ray Graves when they were first introduced, through like the unidentified TV show, and now they are before Congress testifying about this stuff. Like, holy shit. So it is historic. Some might find it underwhelming, but you have to remember this is not for like this crowd, this community. This is for every freaking body. The people that you love, the people that you are indifferent towards, and the people that you flat out hate. Doesn't matter. This is for all of us. You're human. This is for you. You're alive right now. This is for you. Whether you want it or not, that's up to you. But it's here. So it's very beautiful to see it that way. And Tom, you had said something, and I was clinging on to it, and now this goddamn gummy just kicked in. Oh, it was about the synchronicities.
And poof, it's
Something
gone.
else before. Yeah, it's gone. But anyway, I'm very happy. Um, I was expecting more this time because last time they actually brought video and stuff and the morphology of the shapes. I was hoping they would show something because just like the representative from Missouri, it's like, you know what? I'm from Missouri. I gotta touch it. I gotta. You know, it's got to be tangible. Show me something, goddamn. And I'm like, I'm so glad the guy just like that was his reaction. Because most of the people watching this that are not part of this community, they have this like, this is bullshit. Show me the goods, right? And it's
Right,
going to
right.
lead to that. And I think either, I have this crazy idea that if something gets leaked, like at this point between now and them having to show evidence, if somebody leaks it, it's going to be the DOD, so that they can play this long game of, discrediting it, and then it's eventually going to get credited. I don't know, but it's coming to that. You're gonna see just better quality photo. Then you're gonna understand why they look blurry in the videos and why they look those funny looking silly shapes that you see in the photographs. Why is it? Then you're gonna get it. Then you're gonna understand that this is technology and is not made by human hands. It's something else, and is made in a very different way, and there is some kind of engagement and this consensus of what we see as a phenomenon. I think is like a rainbow. Like there's a whole bunch of people from different places. Okay, and for whatever reason, maybe they've done this before, probably, and they respected the fact that humanity wanted to gaslight them. Like the leaders took that decision, whatever. And now it's time. Okay, you needed a few decades to understand, to make it easy for your population to understand. Fine, have it. We don't care. They don't seem to even perceive time the way that we see it. So, well, that's a conversation for another day. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to share my excitement, and I think if you're new to this, you have a lot to catch up, and I think it would be a good opportunity for people to like make new friends and have a common interest. It's exciting times.
Thanks, Fernando. I appreciate all that, man. Yeah, it is a good opportunity for people to connect to, and also you mentioned there's people that have to catch up. I was in some spaces today where it was nice to see like people asking questions. They're like, "Wait, David Frey, what was his name?" Like there's people that are now beginning to really inquire about what's happening, and I know there's the skeptics, there's the believers, there's the debunkers, but at the end of the day, I think we can all at least find some common ground in the fact that we all just want to know what's actually going on, right? I try to spread as much positivity and as much connectedness in this community as I can, as much as I can.
Well,
I'm not.
well,
Go ahead, Fernando.
sorry, I just brought
No,
something
go ahead.
to mind. So someone should do. Maybe I'll do it myself. Watch how the word extraterrestrial has been used throughout this line. They have avoided that. Like they also avoid the word plasma, but that's another conversation for a different day. The whole extraterrestrial word has been avoided. I remember when was it? Was it last year that we had that? It was like a seminar at a church in Washington D.C., and there were people from the intelligence community. Bezos was there. You guys remember that at the church? A very beautiful
I think I know what you're talking about.
stained glass. And the lady from the intelligence community, she couldn't even get it out of her mouth. When she said extraterrestrially, it was like a mouthful for her. She was like extra to extra. She couldn't even
It
get it
was almost
out.
like a mistake.
And
She's like,
then
oh.
yeah, and then we've only heard it. We've only heard it said in the previous series as someone from the Pentagon denying the shit is saying, there is no evidence of extraterrestrial. Like, remember, like they would try to get that out of the way first. Now, what they got out of the way first was little green men. Hmm?
Yeah, I have
That's
something
what they
that I
got out
could
of the
say
way.
about that particular phrase too.
Well,
I
I
really
know, me
thought
too.
about it. Little
How
green
how
men.
you feel?
I
How
think they
you
got
probably
the
have.
color wrong.
No, but what I mean is when I saw it, I didn't take insult because they meant like this is not about the stigma and the bullshit. This is serious, and that's how it came out. That's how I understood it anyway. But when they said this is not about little green men, but then when they asked the questions and you hear the answers, they dropped the extraterrestrial word. They dropped it a few times. It was like fucking finally. Brazil did this. I think it was last summer, and that word was bouncing everywhere. And they
Right.
even had pins like the people that went to testify. Robert Salas was there for crying out loud testifying. Like wake up, people. This is not a psyops this is history. You're living in during a paradigm shift. Not all a lot of humans have gone through this before. Not all of us get to. It's fun. Enjoy it. But wake up. It's like if part of your brain is flexible to these ideas, understand that there is truth to this, and you're going to bear witness how far that shadow of truth falls. It's absolutely beautiful what's happened. I really wish, like, people like Kenneth Arnold and the people that took the photos in
Uh,
McMinnville, Oregon, the Trents, Paul and Evelyn Trent. There is this long history of dead people that I wish were alive, like
Bud
right now.
Hopkins,
Right now. Yeah, there
John
is.
Mack.
Hey,
Are-
funny story.
yeah.
I'm actually on this trip with the owner of the Trent Farm right now.
No kidding.
Yeah, no shit.
Shane, you
Scary.
son of a bitch. Like,
Yeah. Well, I'm part of a film crew going on a top secret project after we go to this
right.
moon
Top
landing.
secret.
But
I swear to God,
yeah, he's
it's the most casual thing that you do. We'll just be in the middle of talking, and Shane will just be like, yeah, not
yeah.
for
Hey guys,
anything,
I
but
met
I'm
President
sitting next
Biden
to the
today.
president.
Go back to your talking.
It's so Shane finds himself in the most interesting of situations. I swear to God,
Dude,
like we could be at like
you're
a
not
burger
telling
joint,
me. I
and
told
you could just
David
be like,
Altman.
so
I just told
I got
David. I
the
said, bro, it
president
was
of
like
the
a year
universe's
ago.
phone number.
Yeah, no shit. I told David about. I was like about a year ago, bro. I remember tweeting a photo of me eating a burger, drinking a beer, watching a tear in the sky, dude. I said, here I'm sitting. Goddamn aliens.
Isn't that crazy? It's kind of like how it kind of reminds me of how I met Darcy Weir. Like I was at work watching his documentary, and then like later that night we were all in a space, and he showed up, and I was like looking at his profile, and I was like, is that the guy that made that shit I was watching earlier? And I
Which
messaged
one did
him, and
you
I'm like,
watch?
so
Hey, you
the
want to hear
one
something
that
funny?
I was watching the Apollo one at first.
That was good. Watch the one about
I've seen them all now.
UFOs and volcanoes, and it will blow
That's a
your
good one
mind.
too.
They
Yeah, dude,
have.
Check this
that's a
out.
really interesting topic that a lot of people don't talk about.
You
It's
want
because
to
of
talk
underground bases.
UFOs and
I
volcanoes?
solved it.
I will talk to you all night long, baby, about them. They see everything near these things. They see the swarms, like the fleets. There's another thing. When this thing started back in the 1940s, right? Arnold saw a fleet. That other commercial pilot after him that didn't believe him, he also saw a fleet. There's that video from the 1960s. Remember, there were two videos that Project
Yeah,
Blue Book
yep.
looked into, and they stole some of the food. The Air Force has stolen so much shit about UFOs. We can talk all night,
That's why they don't want to talk about
but
anything because they
you
know they would have to
hear
give up the goods.
you hear
Hey, we talked
this
about treaties.
fleet thing, right? There's more than one,
Talking
right?
about how
Yeah.
the Air Force
And
is
there's
shit.
a very good video from. So what happened in Mexico was back when these brand new fleet, and look at where the dates are with a lot of this footage are like 20 teens, mid 20 teens, early 20 teens, like 2014. So actually, no, some of them are 2004. If I got my dates wrong tonight, it's not me. But the point is, they were around the same time, and Mexico had bought all these technology from the United States, and they were changing it. It was for the Air Force to use to, get the cartel planes that fly the dark, and they see a fleet over the Gulf of Mexico. A fleet. They're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 14 of these things going in like a line, across. You could see them cruising through and they look so weird. They look like a saucer at the bottom, and then they had a huge sphere on top. They were absolutely gorgeous. And these things were just cruising, and the guys are looking. You just speak Spanish. You listen to them, and they're just saying flat out disbelief, and they're saying that's goddamn aliens, dude. Like they're just like that. What the hell is that? And they had all these sightings like this near the volcanoes. Just see them going into the volcano, coming out of the volcano, hovering. That
It's
documentary,
unreal.
that
Well,
documentary
part of it's
has.
this, guys.
Pardon me.
It's underground bases. Seriously, because in the
Yeah,
treaties they
there's.
actually talk about reservations. They were giving them spots under reservations. Now, if you go to Yakima Valley, you go over to actually White
That
Sands,
makes
any of
so
those
Well,
much
well,
areas
sense.
right down there.
Jaime Maussan. Jaime Maussan. He's in that documentary, and he has, regardless of what you think of the guy, listen to this story. He has to show the world. So he goes that back in the late 90s, this university from Scandinavia, I think it was from Norway, or yeah, probably Norway, and they were doing a collaboration with the volcanologists in Mexico. This is a problem they have with the volcanoes, and they're very active, and they have this issue like the city of Mexico was literally built on top of water. Kind of like what they did with Lower Manhattan. They expanded the island, but the entire city was built on a lake. And they have all these volcanoes around. One of those things goes off, could be catastrophic because you have large populations, so they need to like keep eyes on them and study them. So the volcanologists from the university in Norway made a deal with volcanologists from Mexico that Discovery Channel sponsored, and they were going to shoot over there some stuff. And he said whatever they were filming never came to light because the people over the Mexican scientists as well as the Norwegian scientists, they witnessed these lights going into through the cone as they were reading um, this devices they had there. This was the reason they were there. It was the buildup of volcanic accumulation inside the caldera of the volcano, and they witnessed these lights going through the cone, and they disappear into the volcano, and then the meters go down. The pressure from the electromagnetic buildup was coming down, almost came down to none, and shortly after they saw the lights coming out of the cone and going into the sky and disappeared.
That's
So he was like,
nuts. Oh my god.
we used to think all these things were bases, but maybe they're like gas stations.
Well, yeah, that could
To
be
reveal
possible. Like
some
there's some
technology,
speculation
this.
that they dip into the ocean for they try to mine they tried to like take water and try to extract like the hydrogen from it. I'm pretty sure Lou
And
Elizondo had been speaking about that.
That documentary shows you one video. There's very good video. One is from Costa Rica. You see this thing stop in midair, goes through a cloud, illuminates the whole cloud, then stops again in midair as it's going through the pyroclastic flow of the. It stops right in the pyroclastic flow, and then it goes out and does this beautiful curve, and it whoop goes back. You can see it illuminating the gas of the pyroclastic flow. And there is another one where you see the thing coming down to the base of the volcano, and it literally fades through the volcano, like where. It looks like, you know, the one Jeremy Corbell show where it goes into the water and they say splash, and I hated that because they
Yeah,
don't make a splash. It's seamless how they go into. It's like just going to the water.
they
It went
phase into
exactly
the
like that,
water.
but through the side of the volcano. It's so like because I remember John Ramirez said there is video of the penetration solid surfaces stuff, and it's from volcanoes. I was like, oh yeah, I seen it. It's in that documentary. You know, a lot of people are gonna have to eat a big humble pie because you know Rose Colhart named that book in plain sight for a very good reason. A lot of the evidence is already out there. People just ignore it because they don't know what they're looking at. They don't know what to look for. You know, but people
Yep,
are gonna
that's a
have to
good way
eat
to put it.
this
It is in plain
huge,
sight.
huge. It's right. A lot of the evidence that you want, it's already on the internet. All you're looking for is confirmation, validation, and this is gonna happen. Mark my words. So people are gonna start seeing evidence put forth and going back through these archives and realizing, holy shit, this person was not lying. There it is. Same thing. You know, because a lot, if you get the history, particularly from the 40s to before that, there are a lot of consistencies. It's like something has not changed. You know, if these NHIs were responsible, like I know Olga Shane likes to talk about that, like the airships. You know, it's like you're saying we're slightly comprehensive us. They're leaving it as gifts so that we would take it and try to figure it out. You know, like that has been consistency. People
Fernando,
see
your audio is going in and
average
out.
stuff. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Also, if you could, I want to get to some other people too. Everything you're saying is
Sure. Go ahead.
fantastic as always. I don't mean to
Absolutely.
rush you, but no, go ahead, finish your thought.
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah, there is a lot of evidence that people eventually will realize it was there all along. You know, like, and it's a humble pie for humanity because in a way this is a case of uh, uh, people not listening or hearing, paying attention. You know.
I think that's fair. Everybody's, been taught to disbelieve this particular topic, and of course, the stigma is now dying. So we have a shot at, getting some people's attention. Like, hey, I think you should really look into this. So I see someone new here. I don't think I've heard from you, Southern Doll Charm. I've seen you on Twitter in a couple different places, but I don't think you and I have spoke before. How are you?
I'm doing well. I don't want to derail from Fernando's conversation because information, it was wonderful. Thank you. That last statement you made speaks to me directly. But I wanted to mention that the ones with the numerology and the waking up at the middle of the night, again, me too, had the same situation last a couple of weeks. Numbers 2 and 3 came up a lot. There is some information on the internet about that. That was a long time ago, but where's some research? And the other thing is in a financial end of numerology, there's software we used to use when I was an auditor called Benford's Law. And there's probably a lot of people that know what that is. But that almost kind of ties in with all of the numerology stuff. And just another thought of Benford's Law showing from a huge database what repeats. So I just want to mention that. And I'm trying to absorb all this. I'm kind of a newbie. Always figured that they were out there, but have never took the time to really learn, but and probably never paid attention. I've probably there's some out there that I've probably seen and I didn't even pay attention. So anyway, thank you. I just want to mention that. And Fernando, love your stories. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you both.
This
Love
is
having new
awesome.
people here too, which is fantastic. Who's next? Mass Hysteria, I see you got something to say. Either that or your mic's open. Are you here? Oh yeah, you're super. I can no. I don't think anybody can hear you. You're like super distant.
No, I actually didn't have anything to say.
You're far.
So close and yet so far.
Yeah, he sounds like he's all the way in the back of the bus.
It's all right. I don't even. Yeah, I'll let him handle that. So I just want to let you guys know I'm going to be running the space for like another half hour, and then I'm going to be shutting it down at that point. I would love to go for longer. I'm probably going to start doing a lot more of these throughout the week as I find time to do it. It's just like this video, like I really want to get it done, and so I can decompress. I'm honestly going to do like nothing. As soon as this is done, I'm going to post it on YouTube. It's about the Grays. So I'll plug myself real quick here. If you guys haven't already, if you could follow me on YouTube at Cortex Zero, subscribe to the channel, obviously. Weekly content is now going to be a thing. I've been doing videos like every couple of months because they're usually like super large projects. But now I have other things in the works that aren't necessarily going to have to be like, you know, a half hour, 45 minutes long. This video is like an hour. So if you're into the Grays, you may as well strap in, make a hot pocket, pour some lemonade for this one because it's going to take up a little bit of your time, but I think you'll enjoy it.
So when
Astral. No, go ahead, Fernando. Yeah. So as soon as it's done, man. Like honestly, like I'm like I'm like a quarter of the way through the actual like heavy editing. I did all the narration already. I got all the images. Now I'm just piecing it together in Adobe. And it's literally a deep dive on the Grays.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So yeah. Well,
afterwards, after you post it.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I'll give you guys like just a little brief synopsis. Like I had gone looking myself for like a really good video on the Grays, and it doesn't exist. Like there's stuff out there that's interesting. Don't get me wrong, but for what I was looking for specifically, I'm like, there's no like single video that covers everything. A lot of it is like in books and split into different media. So I mean, I went as deep as you could. I mean, I even talk about how they smell. Like seriously, I describe every part of their body. I talk about how like they don't have wrists. Like it gets ridiculous. Like honestly, like I might have even gone too far. Who knows? But I start off with the potential origins of where the archetype came from. And I pretty much like. There's been some people who have talked about like an episode of the Outer Limits called the Bolero Shield. Man of the Year Million from H.G. Wells. I debunk all of that because there's stuff that's even earlier. I talk about Aleister Crowley's Lamb. I go even earlier than that. Like I cover the Wandjina. There's
Tom, what's
fertility
really
dolls in
interesting.
Africa.
Sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Because the gray is like an archetype, but if you take a step back and look at the broader picture of the so-called euphonauts, right? So it doesn't matter whether they're little grays or whatever other humanoid people see, but they have a lot of things in common. Not only between the different types of grays, but also between other kinds. And one of them is they all have these huge head with very large eyes. And
No question about that. The Roswell creatures, I even kind of touch on that. How I actually went into Photoshop. I used Midjourney to kind of create the base. And then I went and decided to, mess with it in Photoshop to get it to where I really wanted it. And I made a couple mock-ups of what the Roswell being may have looked like. And it's like this interesting in-between where it's like, it looks like a gray that was on its way to looking human. And then, I kind of go into, how that may have been a result of different, genetic manipulation and experimentation. I go over a lot of possible theories as far as their nature, either, higher dimensional beings utilizing avatars to interact with our dimension. It goes in every friggin' possible direction that you can think of. Like I packed as much as I could into this. And there was even more that like I thought of on the way after I had already recorded my narration. And I'm like, dude, this is probably just going to go on forever. But I think I have a solid amount of material here that you guys will enjoy. But this is what I'm going to start doing is, I'm going to do weekly videos. Obviously, I have interviews coming, like my own podcast, aside from the one that I do with Ty. And then I'm thinking of maybe like doing one of these long form videos, like maybe once a month or like every other month, just depending on what pops into my head. But something I like, we're obviously talking about UFOs, but in the title here, precog and consciousness and high strangeness, like I really, really believe that what we're dealing with is far beyond nuts and bolts. Like I don't say that I'm a nuts and bolts guy, and I don't say that I'm a woo guy. I'm both, because I feel that whatever this force is, this phenomenon, it has the ability to take the nuts and bolts, and it's able to woo the nuts and bolts. Like they're doing things with metamaterials and such that are beyond our wildest dreams. I believe Fravor even said that there was a specific phrase that he used, that he said something that really resonated with me. He said that like the material science that would be required to do what like the Tic Tac was doing. Yeah, that's right. He said it didn't exist at that time. It doesn't exist now, and it's not going to exist 10 years from now. I thought that was very telling. You can,
Yeah.
we could speculate all day. It's like, oh yeah, it was Russian. Oh, is it adversarial? Is it Chinese? Ladies and gentlemen, it is not.
Well, Tom, I would like to point something out because people tend to think of technology when we talk about bolts and nuts, right? And I hate that expression because these machines, they don't have them. They don't have
Right.
nuts
That's
and
actually
bolts.
really great that you said that.
but
They're
anyway,
rivetless.
understand that technology, like a book, is technology. Me teaching you something is technology. So you have forms of technology that are tangible, and then you have forms of technology that are intangible. Like you put together a medication, you give it to somebody, that knowledge you're passing on, that recipe is a form of technology. Like people don't understand. So to me, this woo stuff, it's that's where it falls into the quote by this British writer. Oh my God, I can't remember his name. Any advanced form of technology would be indistinguishable from magic,
Indistinguishable from Arthur C.
right?
Clarke.
Yeah, Clark. Thank you. And you have to look at it this way because, like, understand, like, when we blow up a nuclear bomb, we're just doing the same type of fusion that is happening at the surface of the sun, or maybe a little deeper because they say it's hotter than the surface of the sun. For it's just technology is a way to cheat nature. Is a shortcut. There are many ways of creating these shortcuts, and not all forms of technology are tangible. So if they have these forms of tangible technology, what forms of intangible technology do they have? Like I was in a space earlier listening, somebody said, oh, the people that are saying that they're seeing beings, have you ever done shrooms or psychedelics? He goes, those people are tripping, and I was like, dude, you kind of have it, but you don't. It's you're not making the right connection. The stuff you see when you do that stuff and these tangible beings, they're connected. Because
Absolutely.
technology can be also intangible. So you will understand how this works, but you're gonna see this thing unraveling. Understand what those fancy vehicles. That is the tip of the iceberg. Look at us. It's like we're flashing somebody with our cars. We have so much more to offer than just vehicles, right?
Right.
So, oh, I remember. It came back to me. It had to do. You were talking about how years ago the phone. If you left the phone behind, there are all these technologies that are added up in the palm of your hand. And what I wanted to point out that is true. Look what happens to our own technology. As time goes by, you're holding. If that screen goes blank and you don't see anything, what you're holding in your hand is a very simple geometric shape. What does
Right.
that tell you about advanced technology? Look at these craft. Look at what they're talking about, the morphology. These very simple geometric shapes, right? There's this thing that goes along with very high advanced technology. Have you seen like what the Teslas look like? Have you seen like,
Yeah,
well,
of
not
course.
the
There's a
Titan was
simplicity.
unfortunate. That's
You
not a
know,
good
there's a
example.
minimalism and simplicity to some of these things, which I think is beautiful, actually. Like, you
Me
know, it's
too.
very sleek.
Me too.
What really
Some of
caught my
them look silly,
attention,
like,
guys, it was
oh,
about the vehicle that it was described today about this transparent sphere and the square inside of this sphere.
Yeah,
So
that's
it caught my
incredible
attention.
picture.
Like so simple but so powerful, right?
It's very mysterious, too, because that's honestly, it's even cooler than a flying saucer. Like, flying saucers are really cool, and flying triangles, obviously, are really cool, too. But that is nuts. Like, an orb inside of a transparent, or a sphere inside of a cube inside of a transparent sphere. Like, I know somebody that actually like made paintings of that I met at an online UFO symposium. You guys have probably seen those illustrations. He's from Europe, I believe. They're beautiful, and it's just such an incredible thing to look at. And then it was really telling when Graves had mentioned like the testimony and conversation he had with another pilot. And he's like, yeah, he said something like, oh, yeah, those damn things are out there. I almost hit one of them. Like, they talk about them like they're rocks. And that's something that like drew my dad's attention, actually. And my dad came into my room and he's like, it's wild. They're saying that these things are out there every day, all the time. So
yeah.
it's, you know what I mean? It's grabbing
And
my
they're,
parents'
and
attention.
they're making an effort to slow down and be seen. They're making, because they know they cannot be heard. They're making they want to be noticed. Is saying, look at me, I'm here. Know that I'm here. Hey, remember, I'm here. It's making that presence known. And that's a conversation along on its own, because what did Ryan Graves say in the show Unidentified? He said these practice theaters they were doing over in the Atlantic Ocean or in the Pacific Ocean, and these were like these war games they were doing. In some instances, they would go into places of war. And what did Ryan Graves say? These things followed us. We left the Atlantic and went all the way into the Indian Ocean. Got close to the Middle East, and guess who showed up over there? Our little friends from the Atlantic. Here they were, like
Right.
like flies after sugar. You know.
That's such a good point. I know they get so attracted by. All right, Fernando, I want to get to the rest of these hands, obviously, because we only have a little bit
Sure.
left. So I believe it's going to be the GOAT, then Ben, then Southern, and then Jamie, if everybody can remember that.
Okay, yeah, thanks. I appreciate it, man. Tom, this is my first time listening to you, man. I'm gonna check out your YouTube, give you some subs.
I
I
appreciate
understand how
that, man.
I know how that grind is, man.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
long one, but it's worth it, and you meet a lot of cool people along the way. So thank you so much, dude. I appreciate that.
yeah, old vet, as always, brother. I haven't talked to you in a while, man. Hope everything's going okay with you. Um, I just want to put it like this, man.
Thanks.
I've been thinking, I'm a little high right now, so my thoughts make it a little bit mixed up. But I was thinking about that cat experiment, right? I forgot what it's called. I'm too high to remember the name. The Sconler's cat, whatever. So anyway, this is the way I picture how limited our knowledge is about all this, the UFOs and what's really out there, different dimensions. Um, it can go on. But if you take a speck of sand, put it in a box, and let's picture the Earth is covered with water. You put that box in the middle of the ocean, and at the same time, you have somebody on the outside. Let's say of our galaxy, is able to look in, look at everything. We're at that speck of sand that's in that fucking box. Like, there's no way we know anything. Like, what we're describing stuff that we are encapsulated in, right? So somebody could be poking from the sides of that box. Somebody could be, obviously, there's somebody way ahead that's able to look over everything, right? Advanced civilizations that are from, I think we can all pretty much agree they're from different dimensions, right? Because travel from, galaxy to galaxies, unless there's really something we're missing, but that's what's so cool about this is that all these scientists and shit can talk about what they know and everything. It's like, you guys don't know a damn thing any more than we know, right? It's like we're all in this box together. We can only look out when we're starting to look out further a little bit, right? The Voyager's out there. We got the James Webb. We're able to see further. They're saying that's rewriting physics and shit, and how the galaxies are actually connected by strings of energy, right? Of which everything is encompasses. Remote viewers can tap into this shit. It just goes on and on, like a neural network, is right. So these beings might be able to just be looking right there at the edge of the galaxy, where we're floating around in this box, covered by all sides. We can't see very much. So these people above us can see everything, right? They can just probably touch something and just tap into all this energy that's connected everything, from probably universe and universe, which connects different dimensions and shit. But, I was really thinking hard about this. I'm like, wow, how much information do we really have? We know something else is out there, right? Our ancestors have been talking since the biblical ages. Tom, you were talking about, the beings and stuff. Well, they've been here. There's hybrids here. They've been writing about this since the biblical ages, in the Bible, every religion across the globe.
Dude, you know what? I want to mention this real quick. Just, I'll piggyback off of you, and then I'll let you go back to what you're saying.
You're good.
Two things there. You sound like me. It's like, how much I always say that it's like the only perspective we have is the human one. How much do we really know? We have to admit to ourselves how little we may know about anything. Like, we don't even, no one. I mean, no one, unless they're in one of these, secret, hyper compartmentalized programs and they've figured something out that isn't public. Nobody knows what gravity is. We know what it does. We know when we're going to see it. We know that, an object with more mass has more of it. We have no idea how to control it. We have no idea how to generate it. We have no idea how to interact with it in ways that we can use it to do anything, at least in the public sphere, right? Maybe not in the private sector, but at least in public knowledge. And then you're talking about the hybridization and the hybrids. Would you believe, and this is going to be, I'm going to be doing a video about the hybridization program. It gets brought up a lot in my grades video, but it deserves its own thing. I had never seen this before. Would you believe in the Mahabharata, there is actually mention of something that sounds just like a hybridization program? I was like, are you serious? Like, thousands and thousands and thousands of years old. The Rig Veda in India literally talks about the Big Bang. Like, all you got to do is go looking for it. There's a lot of people out there who doubt what we're speaking about right now, but all you got to do is go looking. It's in the literature. It's out there. The information is out there. It's, as Ross Coulthart would say, in plain sight. But yeah, go on, man. That popped into my head real quick.
Oh, hey, Tom, it's also in the part of the Bible that got removed, the Book of Enoch.
Book of Enoch. Yeah, of course.
There's
of course.
a little bit left
Dude.
in the Bible now, but it's all in the Book of Enoch.
You can go on. You can go on Amazon, and I believe there's a free PDF version of it online where somebody took the Book of Enoch and other banned books from the Bible and just other books from the Bible in general that have like some of those more juicy, interesting pieces of information, and they like converted it into like modern day English. So it's not a bunch of, thou shalt nots and all that. It sounds more like just regular modern English. So I would highly recommend looking out for that because it's a really interesting read.
You know what I think is very interesting? That in the Bible, they sort of explain to you why they look humanoid. Like the angels are humanoid, but the hybrids, they're taller beings, like they're larger, and that's funny because the description is there in the Bible and you see it in the UFO lore.
Oh, yeah, absolutely
like
right.
I'll kick one over for you. Oh, Tom, you're gonna go ape shit. I don't even know you, man. I think we're like same here. So let's talk about the Sumerians, people. Let's talk about them the first recognized. Now we all know that Guadalquivir, I'm probably saying that wrong, in Turkey, that has some ancient monuments that were built dating back 20. We can all agree there were civilizations way before the Sumerians. But let's just go with science here, right? The group of fancy Harvard guys. So that's the first recognized civilization on Earth that had first written language, education system, yada yada yada. They have stories about their gods, and it goes even further about how these gods came to mine gold and stuff like that. And they were using us. The gods were using us as slaves to mine this gold because they needed. And it goes in fucking description about how these people needed this gold for their planet or something. So,
well, it's more like they made us as labor force, and
right.
after they were done, they were like, what do we do now with these guys? Just let them be. We're gonna get out of here anyway.
Right, but how do you tie that together? Tell me a scientist who can explain that. Civilizations who have no contact with each other, didn't have boats to run around, didn't have telegrams, didn't have email, Twitter, X, whatever you want to fucking call it. You know what?
Why
Like,
did everybody build pyramids?
exactly.
Like everybody. They didn't have contact.
Within 500 years of each other.
Huge
with
point
no
right
contact.
there. Huge point.
China,
They
Russia.
didn't have contact with each other, and not only that, but the pyramids, and it doesn't take a fucking rocket scientist to see this. You know, the Egyptian government can deny whatever they want. They can limit archaeologists however they want. There is clear evidence of water erosion at the base of the Sphinx and the pyramids. We all fucking know it's there. It's so frustrating. I don't mean to curse all crazy, but like it is. It's frustrating that they have to like maintain some like weird status quo, like, oh, we're not allowed to go back and edit history. And I think a lot of that actually has to do with they don't want anything to come out that minimizes the accomplishments of their culture. I think that's actually what it is. It's not so much, the super secret information that's out there, but they want to take credit for all of it.
I also think it's part of human nature. I'm not playing devil's advocate here, but you have seen it in science before. Oh, sorry, I cannot hear him.
Go ahead, Fernando. You're the only one talking.
Oh, okay. Well, just brief. So it has happened in science before where somebody's dares to go against those boundaries of perceived reality, and they kind of leapfrog ahead, and they figure something out, and they try to bring their voice out, and they're shut down, and then years later they're proven right. So there is this part of human nature that is very stubborn. We embrace belief systems too tightly, and we think that we allow it, but that's part of human nature because we are born into the world and we die in the world. You know what I mean? Like we have all these limited cycles, beginning and ending, right? So we tend to perceive reality within boundaries because we are ourselves within boundaries. Yeah, that's just our reality. So part of it, I think, is human nature, unfortunately, because it's not the first time. This is not the first I told you so in history, but it's probably the one that's taken, well, a few of the ones that have taken the longest in modern history.
Yeah, I want to say real quick, that doctor, by the way, shame on the science community. That guy has a PhD. What's that guy's name? The beard guy. He has a PhD in geology, and I think he's even got forensic geology in there. He's the one who looked at that site around the Sphinx and was like, wait a second here. It hasn't rained for like 10,000 years. Like, this is water erosion. Then
well, there's Graham. You're talking about Graham Hancock?
Is that what his name is?
I could be wrong.
Hancock is not a scientist. He's like a journalist.
No, but he's just a journalist. Yeah, I was going to say he's a journalist, but I don't know his entire list of credentials. That's why I threw his name out there.
One thing he pointed out that is true, because they do see it everywhere, is that a lot of these
you can see it in photos.
The ancient sites are built like Russian nesting dolls. So they find these layers, right? And the deeper you get, the older it gets. And usually, if you're able to trace the story from those people like thousands of years ago, the reason why this place was chosen is because it was a natural, sacred, something happened in this spot that was sacred to them. And in order for them to protect this site, they started to build around it and to shelter it, and then the shelter got bigger and bigger because it's like a Russian nesting doll. So he brought up that fact, and it's very, very interesting because it's consistent in a lot of these, particularly the above ground temples. You see this method of construction. It's very interesting.
You're absolutely right, Fernando. All right, I want to move on to, I believe, Ben was next, then Southern, then Jamie.
Hey, thanks, Tom, for bringing me up. This space has been awesome. I really enjoyed listening to you guys. One phrase that keeps running through my mind, everything you guys were talking about, is like failure of imagination. Like so much of this, like resistance to this topic and the stigma is just like failure of imagination. You know, kids, they don't struggle with it as much. As we get older, we struggle with it more. So I think one thing we can all do to kind of help like our friends and family reduce the ontological shock about the topic coming to light is like just encourage more creativity, just kind of in general, like creative activities, anything that can like help them open their minds to something new is going to help this go down easier. Tom, it was crazy when you brought up that like imagining the giant city-sized UFO, because like literally 3 weeks ago, I totally had a dream where I saw like two UFOs, and the second one was like giant, like city basically built on top of it. I could literally see like and hear like beings and lights moving around on top of it. And I woke up and checked my camera roll. I was like, holy shit, did that really happen? There was no picture of it. Just want to touch real quick, and I'll wrap on this, but just two quick takeaways from the big hearing today. The first one is like, I just feel like we're so lucky to have the quality of witnesses that we had representing the topic today. And man, those guys know their stuff. They were great. I mean, Grush totally blows me away. And it makes me feel very lucky that, you know, we have people like that defending our freedom and serving their country for us. And the second one is Congress is pissed. Like you could hear it in their voices today. They're not happy about things being hidden. They're not happy about rules being broken. And the main thing I want to see now is persistence. You know, like a dog with a bone, they got to stay on this, and we can help drive that. You know, so the more noise we make and the more we reach out and contact our representatives, the more momentum we can help generate. And yeah, thanks for letting me speak. Thanks for the space, guys. Take care.
Definitely, man. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Love new people coming in and giving their insight. Southern, going back to you, and then Jamie.
Thanks. Okay, so again, I'm a newbie and I'm trying to digest all of this. I have my list of species that I got from one of the spaces I was in. And I'm sorry, it's just wow. I am blown away by some of the thoughts that now people are saying, and I'm going, dang, this is really a lot. So anyway, I forgot where I was going. Lord have mercy. Oh, I know where it was. The funny thing I was going to throw in here to make me laugh and get out of this weird feeling is I heard in one of these spaces, and Tom, I don't know if it was yours or something I saw related. As you see some of your stuff, you know, you start linking to some of the other videos that are out there, and I just thought it was hilarious. This is what I keep going back to keep my mind a little bit focused. And you can tell me if it's maybe true or not. Is a spacecraft that has lots of seats in it, like it's a tour bus. Have you heard of that?
Oh, that's so. I believe I had heard some things. So I think I heard something about that connected to Virginia, but there was also someone else that mentioned some craft that had been recovered that kind of looked like that. And what they thought was interesting about it was that it had like minimal instrumentation inside of it compared to some of the other machines that they had recovered. And they deemed it to be more of an observation vehicle than it was like anything else. So I thought,
Right,
again, that's just a
observation
theory,
vehicle.
though.
But the joke was, then you kind of laugh and you're like, oh my God, there's tour buses coming and looking at us. But, we've done that.
Could you tell me why you believe it's, kind of to play the devil's advocate, a reason why some of this stuff should not be available to the public?
There's certainly some national security concerns when we use our advanced sensors in our tactical jets to be able to identify these objects. However, there's no reason that the objects themselves would be classified. I would be curious to see how the security classification guideline actually spells out the different nuances of how this topic is classified from the perspective of UAP, not national security.
I'll give you a follow-up on that.